Techland held an AMA on their Discord recently, and we got a ton of new info for the second story DLC, as well as more info on the next updates for Dying Light 2. Now let's start off with something I know has been a big thing since day one: crossplay. From the question and answer on the screen, you can see that this is something they are actively working on. The hope is that this will be released before the second story DLC, which would be absolutely amazing if that's the case. Another thing people have been asking for since day one is E3 animations. In the June update, we're going to be getting the ability to slide down billboards with a knife, just like in E3. Although this is cool, I personally don't see a ton of times where this would be useful. They also mentioned that we're going to bring back more things from E3 even before the DLC is released. Still, don't get your hopes up on Elysium, as that will most likely never fully appear. Next is PvP, or even specifically be the zombie mode. The basic thing here is that they are not ruling out a PvP mode being in the game at some point, just not in the new DLC, and we'll probably have to wait until after that to get released. Another thing you'll notice from this screenshot is that they also confirm Aiden will be going into Fury mode more often. This is great, as those sequences are really fun in the game. Now, we don't know what this is going to look like right now, but the hope is that it's going to work similar to Dead Island 2's Fury mode, which is a ton of fun to use. A very common question that was asked was for characters returning from Dying Light 1 or from Dying Light 2. All of these ask about characters from both games, and basically they've confirmed we will be seeing Dying Light 1 characters return, like Kyle Crane, possibly even Brecken and the others, as well as multiple characters from Dying Light 2. Now let's talk about the possibility of adding guns into the game. I know what we saw with the Undead or Alive event and what's been found in the game files, more on that in a little bit, but every time they are asked about guns, they always say something similar to this. When they say new weapon types, this could mean anything from spears to things like the Scorpio, and not necessarily guns. It would be a nice addition, but don't get your hopes up before anything is officially confirmed. On the subject of finding things in the game files, there have been lots of leaks over the past several months about the second DLC, one of which is a new underwater zombie type. Although we won't be getting that zombie most likely, we will be getting new types as well as more variants. The initial thought was that the DLC was going to involve traversing and exploring the water more, but as you can see here, all those theories are now out the window. This goes to show that just because something is in the game files doesn't necessarily mean that it'll turn up in the game. A lot of players are expecting the second DLC to be something like the following from the first game, and there are some hints that could be the case. As you can see from these, the new DLC is going to be accessible separately from the main game, and the story is going to take about 10 hours on average to complete. Both of these aspects are shared with the following, which is a really good sign. Also, people have been asking about vehicles since there was one in the following, and they said this: it is a possibility that we'll get to see some type of transportation, but not guaranteed right now. Alongside this, we also got further confirmation that the DLC takes place outside the walls of the city, which is not Elysium, directly after the events of the main game. This means that we will get to complete Aiden's story, but also could mean that there's not going to be a Dying Light 3. Techland gets around this by saying there's a plan for 5 years of support, but that doesn't necessarily mean a continuation of the franchise. Another thing they talked about was the addition of new factions for the DLC. The PKs, Survivors, and Renegades are all within the confines of Villador, so they wouldn't be making an appearance as the factions. This opens things up to seeing more of the Hunters that Shin is a part of, seeing more of the Pilgrims since Spike and Aiden are not the only two, and potentially even seeing a Sentient Volatile faction, seeing as how there's a focus on the Infected. With the DLC, we'll be getting new skills, which is good since there's only 2 skill trees in the game at the moment. This also ties into the fact that we'll be getting more levels. Not sure if these are going to be player levels or legend levels, but more levels is always a good thing. Lastly, they're finally going to be adding legendary armor to the game. This is absolutely huge since the only thing we have right now is the Renegade boss mask you get from completing New Game Plus. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on the additions to the game, and if there was anything you were hoping would get answered that didn't. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to see other types of games, check out my second channel, RG Reimagined, linked in the description below. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.